freedom. We often take it for granted.
Staff Sergeant Carlos A. Benitez, 710 Cavalry. Staff Sergeant Jesse Infante, 166 Armor.
Hundreds of soldiers from southern Colorado making the ultimate sacrifice.
Love being a leader and taking care of his soldiers.
They have lost their lives in recent wars.
He would have been a wonderful father.
Leaving behind families, children growing up knowing their dad was a hero.
She is definitely a little miracle. It took us 8 years to get her, and just when we found out that we were pregnant, that same month we lost him.
And for the thousands of troops coming home from serving in Iraq and Afghanistan and other areas, it's a time of joy for soldiers and their families.
Wonderful. It was great.
But once home, it can often be humbling.
There's a lot more wounded guys coming back. We're going to see a lot of them, especially when everything is shut down and everybody's home.
Bringing new challenges, the memories, the heartache.
An IED blast went off and piece of shrapnel hit him in the face and killed him.
Studies have found that up to 1/3 of soldiers coming home from Iraq could suffer from PTSD.
They're probably the angriest you've ever been at someone, and that anger, and you can't calm down, and it's like dealing with that, but out of nowhere, it just comes on.
From traumatic brain injuries.
I returned from my last deployment and could not remember my son's name. It took me months to get his name down.
TBI is a big issue. I mean, we're getting hit by some very big explosions. And it's shaking your brains, and it's shaking your insides.
And loss of limbs.
I couldn't realize why I was getting up. Couldn't get up, and the reason why is because I didn't have any legs, obviously.
Dealing with visible and hidden wounds, soldiers, along with their families, are looking for ways to cope and heal.
I didn't want to admit that something was wrong with me. That was my biggest thing.
The military offers help in so many ways, but there are other organizations out in our community here to help when it comes to transitioning back into the community.
Doesn't matter. I can still make a difference.
Hello and welcome to Stories of Freedom. I'm Veta Urbonis. Over the next half hour, we will introduce you to many brave heroes who will share their stories of pain, loss, love, and even hope. The goal, to create awareness as thousands of troops transition home from Iraq. We first want to introduce you to Brandon Adam, who was severely injured in Iraq.
It's a simple story of a stay-at-home dad.
This is Elena. You're a goofy girl.
Working hard to raise his 8-month-old miracle.
She loves this thing more than anything. She loves hanging out with Dad.
But it's the story of the background of how Brandon Adam got here.
Good girl.
That's not so simple.
Didn't think I was going to be a dad until probably I was old, because I had a lot of plans for the military.
If you look closely, he's tackling parenthood after losing his legs.
2007, we were in Baghdad. I was the gunner. It went boom, took out the right side of the vehicle, and just couldn't get out, and I couldn't realize why I was getting up. My body went to shock, and that was it. I don't remember anything after that.
He woke up in a hospital a few days later. His legs were blown off.
So looked down, opened up the blankets, saw that my legs were gone.
He woke up determined not to let it get to him.
When I signed that paperwork, when I joined at 17, I knew what I was doing.
He wanted to ski again.
Anything you liked to do before, I guarantee most likely that there's a way for you to do it now.
There you go. So he started training at Life Quest Transitions in Colorado Springs.
Military helping military, you know your mentality. They treat you like a regular person, or a regular athlete.
He decided to take up monocross.
It's pretty much border cross and skier cross, just with a sit ski.
Essentially, extreme skiing with no legs.
The smallest jump is 50 feet.
He even came in second in the X Games in Aspen, and now tackling a new challenge.
We're trying to get it into Olympics for Russia, but we'll see.
He says he has bad days.
It really didn't hit me until I started going in a wheelchair.
Is in pain a lot, but he's not bitter.
The world's not built for handicapped people. So you gotta adapt and overcome.
Instead, Brandon is grateful.
If I have a problem with something, that's what I just say to myself, is just adapt. You know, figure it out. Easy peasy. My left hand is working the hand controls. I'm pushing down to accelerate.
Brandon has been honored for his heroism, receiving a Purple Heart, a presidential coin from President Bush. But he'll tell you his greatest accomplishment happened simply because of the explosion.
I was having such issues with how am I gonna get married? Who's gonna want me like this?
He met his soon-to-be wife shortly after he got out of the hospital.
She was the nicest person I've ever met. I think she saw that I was genuine.
He vowed to stand by her side on his wedding day.
So they built me legs for my wedding.
Wearing his prosthetic legs for the first and only time.
The reason why I wanted to wear my legs my wedding was the kiss. I just wanted to make it as much as of a normal wedding for her.
And the first dance.
People were very emotional about it. I just didn't want to fall. And that was the biggest thing I was thinking, is just don't fall.
At home, next to his medals, a piece of copper.
And this was actually in my leg.
Symbolic of so much.
They may hurt me, but they didn't win.
And if you ask him if he could do it all over again.
Everybody asks me, would you change going in the military? No, not at all. This was the way my life was supposed to turn out. I was hoping to go Special Forces and then take those skills and then go to college. Life has changed completely, but now I'm just a athlete that hangs out with his daughter all day. I am doing awesome.
Up next, we take a look at a road famous for danger. Stories of that fateful road in Iraq turned into a song. When Stories of Freedom continue. Welcome back to Stories of Freedom. As soldiers come home, they bring their memories with them. One group of men who rode Predator Road in Iraq met with songwriters to turn their experiences into a song.
It's a road.
It's bad. It just feels bad.
With a reputation.
It just kind of felt heavy.
A road that hits eerily home. A route that they all patrolled at one time in Baghdad.
Late 03, early 04 is when the IEDs started to pick up in Iraq. There's always injuries or deaths that happened on that road.
So we were targeted big time because we made the road safer for the rest of the coalition.
For soldiers,
there was just lots of close calls. Just IEDs heaven. It was just everywhere.
Predator Road.
That road, you always felt something on Route Predators.
These men are retired, serving at different times.
Everything sticks with you, sounds and smells.
But came together to talk about that fateful place. Each one of their convoys hit by IEDs at some point.
When we find out we're going down that road, we make sure we get in to the phone center, call home, just tell her I love yous. And
still remembering the loss.
We got hit and everything went totally white and smoke, and you could smell the smoke.
Bradley Commander Herman Herrera.
I yelled at my guys. I was like, "Are you guys all right?" And I looked up, and our radios that are bolted into the Humvees had been blown all the way off.
For Predator Sergeant and team leader John Wall.
I always had that fear as a leader that I could lose someone else. There were spouses, parents that would ask, please bring my son home safe.
His greatest fear came true just 2 days after Christmas.
Private Clinton T. McCormick was killed December 27th, 2006.
On that road.
Yeah, I was in the vehicle in front of him. An IED blast went off and a piece of shrapnel hit him in the face and killed him. He was assigned as a gunner for the lieutenant's vehicle, so that's what made it worse. I wasn't in the same vehicle. There's absolutely nothing I could do.
Still dealing with haunting memories.
He was already gone. In the vehicle, there's nothing I could have changed, but still hard.
They share their experiences, their heartache, at a writing session with songwriter Jay Clementi. Opening up their hidden wounds, woven together in a song called Predator Road.
It's time to roll the dice tonight, down Predator Road.
Talking because they do remember. They survived.
I still struggle with it. Predator Road is just a bad place to be.
They say that every place has that symbolic road.
Down Predator Road.
They hope that this song brings hope to other soldiers and their families to help heal the heartache. From visible wounds to wounds you can't see, some experts say better armor is helping soldiers survive explosions they wouldn't have in past wars. But more and more are returning with traumatic brain injuries. Now, one former soldier's amazing story and his fight to regain his memory. Imagine not being able to remember.
I returned from my last deployment.
The name.
It took me months to get his name down.
Of your own son.
I could not remember my son's name. Your card, buddy.
For Tyler Daly, a once sergeant.
It makes me really sad to even think of that.
He came home.
But the thing that was even more sad about it was he was actually named after one of my good friends that died during my first deployment.
Home with an injury you can't see.
I was on a patrol in the back of a Bradley.
After 2 deployments in Iraq, more than a year long each.
We took a blast to the back, and I do not remember the blast.
Tyler felt he lost his world.
Until that point, I was really a solid soldier.
His memory slipping.
So losing the stuff, started forgetting about patrol times.
An MRI revealed a traumatic brain injury. And when all your work,
my life became miserable.
Your hopes, your dreams crushed.
It's devastating because when you join the Army, you're always wanting that next rank.
There are no physical scars.
It's now I'm very forgetful. Move forward, 8.
But the wounds are there.
I see streaks in front of my face when I move my hands across. I have bad balance now.
1, 2.
He reverted back.
I would say I was probably at an 8th grade or 7th grade level. I wanted to give up. Everything became so difficult.
But he slowly started to rebuild.
In the Army, they put me with a lady. She called herself a speech therapist.
Teaching him memory games, puzzle games.
So they got me back up to high school level.
But it was after he got out came the biggest challenge of his life. Here at LifeQuest Transitions, a nonprofit that helps soldiers transition back into society, he was challenged to go to school.
It was a 6-month school. It teaches you a lot about the human body and how to train the human body.
Taking college courses to become a physical trainer.
I would literally be forgetting the words out of the teacher's mouth as she was saying it.
He says 4 or 5 hours every night, reading over and over. But he did it.
Draw a box or touch the corners of a box with your nose.
And now he's a trainer at LifeQuest, helping other soldiers overcome the odds too.
Don't give up. I was close to giving up myself. I was miserable every day of my life, but you can make the best out of it.
His TBI still makes life a challenge.
5, 6. It's a very slow progress. It's nothing that, you only have one brain and it's very complex.
It's something he still has to work on every day.
One more. We do lots of eye drills and stuff. I'll watch my finger in until it doubles and then back out. Pull, there you go, pull. Get the momentum up, there you go, 3 feet.
He hopes his story, his journey, will help others too.
Good job.
As for Tyler's son,
He's a great little boy.
he says the hard work gives him purpose again. The payoff of simply remembering a name
His name is Grant.
is priceless.
Coming up next, many soldiers come home with post-traumatic stress disorder. How one nonprofit is working to get soldiers out moving again. One recent study finds that up to 35% of soldiers returning from Iraq could suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. And now one nonprofit in southern Colorado is hoping to help soldiers transition back into our community.
It's just a new experience for most people.
Perhaps it's symbolic.
Bring your feet farther apart. Bring your feet farther apart.
Scaling a rock face.
There you go. Good job.
Helmets and harnesses are a must.
Everything is locked.
Your life hanging in someone else's hands.
It's a great feeling when they trust you to hold their life.
I got you. Don't worry about it. I ain't gonna let you fall.
A soldier supporting you, holding the ropes below.
You're doing good. You're almost down.
It's all part of the LifeQuest transitions in the Springs.
What is that?
A program that helps soldiers who are back in the community with both physical and hidden wounds.
It's different to show them, how to rock climb or that sort of thing. It's something that a lot of people don't ever get exposed to.
Getting natural adrenaline
That's where it's at, right there.
when they are used to the rush of war.
Running around or out rock climbing or mountain biking, getting the body moving, getting the blood to flow again into
There you go, right there. Nice.
the body and getting those endorphins moving again and the main thing is getting them to smile and have fun.
Former Staff Sergeant and team leader John Wall first came to LifeQuest as a participant.
So you're actually getting your whole hand up here?
He felt hopeless after an injury and started volunteering after what he saw here.
I had planned on making a career of the Army. Absolutely loved it. I loved taking care of soldiers. I felt like I owed it to them.
He, along with retired Bradley Commander Herman Herrera, found more than just an outlet for stress.
Just enjoy the outdoors and just relax away from Fort Carson.
Hearing the sounds again, kind of reliving those sounds, is some of the hardest things to get to go away.
They were killing each other, they were murdering each other.
Both men suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder.
Very vividly, I remember one of my good friends who lost both legs and working on him, and giving him an IV and tourniquet.
So we'd go up onto a bus and there'd be a duffel bag and there'd be, human body parts. And then we come home and the people that we love and we marry and all this stuff, and they're telling us, something's wrong with you.
Describing what it feels like to have PTSD.
For the longest time, I was always very watchful, watching my back. I'd always sit facing the door if I went to a restaurant, always watching my surroundings. Probably the angriest you've ever been at someone, and that anger, and you can't calm down, and it's like dealing with that, but out of nowhere. I try to switch that off in a matter of days.
And with so many soldiers returning from war, they are sharing their stories, trying to break the stigma associated with PTSD.
I didn't want to admit that something was wrong with me. That was my biggest thing.
They say there are ways to find new outlets for adrenaline that they felt during combat.
Just run. There you go. There you go.
So if we can get them on a rock face and have them rappel down and, get them up there 124 feet.
You just conquered that rock, man. Nice, man. Good job.
Look down and that's adrenaline itself.
They say talking also helps, and it's key to have a support group or a network willing to have patience with you and realizing your life still has purpose even after you retire.
Doesn't matter. I can still make a difference.